Today's show is brought to you by KegConnection.com. Join the free Brewers Club Rewards program at KegConnection.com and start earning and spending points with every purchase. You'll also earn status perks, which allows you to receive bonus points and free gifts from KegConnection.com. Go to KegConnection.com right now. Use the promo code HHH. We'll give you 5% off your order. That's KegConnection.com. Promo code HHH, and you'll get 5% off your order.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Hey, welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question that you would like to discuss on a future episode, visit homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call them in or text them by dialing 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today I'm joined by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com, Mr. James Carlson, and the President and Chief Keg Washer at KegConnection.com. It's Todd, halfway through Dry January Burns. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today.
Proud to be here.
I like how y'all are so polite to each other. Every time I always do the intro of like, thank you for joining me. And I know both of y'all are doing the whole no after you thing.
Yeah, I always wait for him to say something.
I know, because you're too nice. You're just too nice a guy.
Well, we don't all want to run into each other like, well, never mind.
Yeah, like we know. Okay. Thanks a lot, Todd, for that. Cut the music.
Well, didn't a listener a while back say that you talk too much on the show? I thought that was a little offensive, didn't you?
Wow.
The awful thing is, so yeah, I'll give the bad story. I got an email.
You already told it. You told it last week.
Well, I didn't tell the whole thing because I wanted to reply to the guy. But the comment was, I got it through email, but I think it was a YouTube comment. When I go to there, it's gone. I mean, did I delete it? Maybe, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Who knows?
It was that account that we're pretty sure was James' alternate account, because the guy said, "Give James more screen time." That's all he said.
Guilty.
Yeah, guilty. Yeah. No, you kid. James is. I actually. So we posted. And it's going to be one of our questions today, but real quick on our Instagram, which is instagram.com/homebrew happy hour. We had posted yesterday, which today is Thursday, November, good Lord, January the 17th, 2019. On January the 16th, we posted asking, because this question came in, and it's come in a few times, about people wanting to know if we have any what's considered unpopular opinions. And I noticed James going in and giving a ton of clapping emojis to people that have been saying the things you've been saying for years now.
Would it have to do with hoppy beers?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I loved it, though, because my phone was like, what is Texas Gearhead? It was like Texas Gearhead commented, and I go look, and it's just the applause emoji when someone's like, screw super hoppy beers. You're like, yeah.
And I saw the question. I actually did read the show notes, and I remember this same guy was saying that sometimes I didn't contribute much, and I'm going to go ahead with that because I don't even really understand what you're talking about on the question.
Well, I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you mean you need me to explain to you what an Instagram is, right? Is that what
Instagram? What is this Instagram thing? Is that like a telegram?
Yeah, no, it's a unit of measurement. It's an Instagram. But that's a bad joke. Before we get into the question, I actually had some small talk. Todd, I did add a qualifier nickname to your name at the beginning, which I think I want to do from now on. Used to be the Dancing Bear. You're less dancing lately. You are halfway through Dry January. How are you feeling?
Good. And all along, I've always said that I was going to have one exception to that, which was last night. So I had wine last night because it was my 20th wedding anniversary. And I told my wife when I was doing this that I would have wine with her on our anniversary. So we actually had an incredible meal that was prepared for us by the chef at the Harvest here in town. And so we had a 6-course dinner. Well, it was outstanding. So we had a good anniversary.
You probably knew I was going there only because I saw the photos that you and your wife were posting. And
I didn't know you were going there.
I saw multiple wine glasses, and knowing your wife, how I know her, she doesn't need to hold two at a time. So I was ready to call you out for drinking, man.
Oh no, I said to everybody all along that I was going to have wine with my wife on the night of our anniversary. So we're supposed to be in Hawaii right now, but we had to cancel that trip due to some work issues. So anyway,
he was staring right at me.
Comanche instead.
I'm in how he said that.
I'm in a whole different city, and we made eye contact. That was creepy. Holy hell! I promise everyone, it's not related to me directly, but
directly, yeah.
But the dinner looked really good. I do like to plug Comanche, Texas is a town you would have to go out of your way to visit if you're in our state. Texas is so big anyway. We're not a state that you stumble. Like if you're on the highway, there's going to be some cities you're going to be able to come across whether you try to or not. Comanche's not one of those, but I will say,
maybe if you were going from Dallas to Abilene, you'd probably go on the interstate.
No, you're going on the interstate.
Yeah, you would totally miss us.
Yeah, but where I'm getting with this is that genuinely in that area of Stephenville, I'll even include Abilene. Hell, I'll even include like what are those little towns before you get to like Fort Worth? You know, all those little ones.
Oh, Stephenville, Granbury. Thank you.
Yeah. Like those. I would say Comanche, the Harvest, Guanajuato's that we go to. The food there, and this is actually this next one is actually in Blanket, but the Whistle Stop. Some of my legitimate favorite food is within a 10-mile radius of Utah.
That's great. And the other thing that's I always love is I've done this several times with my wife. Our last anniversary, we were in Fredericksburg. Or I don't know if it was our anniversary, but we were having a special time together in Fredericksburg, and I ended up fixing the draft beer system in the Fredericksburg Brewing Company. And then last night I had to fix the brewing system in Harvest as well after our 6-course meal. I went back and fixed their system.
You have an illness, man. You have an illness. When we were at a hotel in San Marcos having a business meeting, we had to delay the business meeting by like 25 minutes because Todd was fixing their draft system.
Their beer
was foaming.
Well, and I wanted to make fun of him. I didn't realize he knew it was messed up from the night before because it was a breakfast meeting. And then he was like, well, I have to go fix it because it's all foamy. And I was like, Todd, it's 8:30 in the morning. What the hell?
It was very, very, a very complicated fix last night. I had to turn the CO2 on. So.
Oh man, those are my favorite kinds. You didn't tell him that was the fix, right? You played it off better.
I went through all the stuff, and then I looked back, and I was like, "Oh, the bottle's not turned on. That's what it is."
Oh, that's the best.
They just replaced the bottle. So
I've told you about the cigar shop, the Cigar Vault in Buda that I frequently go to, and they one time were having they're just pouring foam, and they knew what I do and for a living, and so I went to the back, and it was because the people who installed the system, which is in Texas, we're like most states, we're on the 3-tier system, and most places that serve keg beer submit to some distribution company to also do their lines and their, to handle all their management of their beer and their lines, their faucets, blah, blah, blah. They had their draft system cranked up to like 20 PSI. Can you imagine how much beer you're losing on a commercial system when it was actually like 17? I rounded up, but still I was like,
but that was a short draw system.
It was a short draw system.
Wow.
Yeah.
Direct draw, right?
Yeah.
Because a long draw is 22 psi. They kind of go for, but they have to use a blended gas. So
yeah, no, this was it was basically a glorified Keezer, is what they with the tower out of a bar. Direct draw.
Oh, okay.
Direct draw.
That's way high.
Well, and you can tell that the guy who installed it must have been just used to doing long draw, or maybe they didn't update their handbook or something. But whenever I fixed it, I was in that moment the smartest guy in the room to them, and I've never felt that way before. It was a really good feeling.
Or since.
yeah, or since. Thanks, Todd, for always bringing me back to reality. I also wanted to bring up to remind people, we had it on our Instagram and our Facebook account, which is facebook.com/homebrew happy hour, that the dates, there are important dates, friends. If you want to enter your beer this year into the National Homebrewing Competition, which is the official national homebrew competition from the American Homebrewers Association, we have dates in an image that you can go see that. And I bring it up because, reminder that James is going to win it all this year with his Kolsch.
Well, I don't know about that. Kolsch and alt beer. So I've got to do the alt beer pretty quick.
You do need to get the alt beer done, and we're going to need to do some testing on that. Are you doing? Wait a minute. You're not going to do 15 gallons, are you?
I'm thinking I am.
Oh, good.
Because I can see February 1st is rolling around pretty quick. So.
I know. It's a big day.
It really is rolling around quick.
We're going to have a party in his barn.
Oh, please. Right. So James shared his Kolsch that is it was the kegged one, right? It wasn't it wasn't cold crashing still. You had kegged it.
It was kegged. Yeah, we were able to get 3 full kegs out of that batch.
Yeah, that's a Friday, by the way. So
we've talked about this because Todd is breaking his fast. Is February 1st a Friday?
Yes.
Yep. Sure enough.
You know what, Todd? That is also the week that I would be coming up there. Maybe I should change it to a Thursday, Friday, or no, because I need to be there Friday night. A Friday, Saturday trip, huh?
There you go. Yeah.
And we could do this episode live stream on that Friday where Todd breaks his fast. That's the whole. Yeah, we'll talk about that when I'm done recording. With all that being said, like I said, you can follow us on our social media, keep up with things like that. But I do heavily encourage, we get a lot of questions from people who are either brand new to brewing or fairly new. And a very common theme to a lot of questions is about nerves and competing. And so I highly encourage you to, like we have before many episodes, and James can testify, competing is good. Sometimes, more times than not, you'll get very helpful feedback.
Sure.
Sometimes you don't, but don't let that discourage you. And also be encouraged by your community in competition. You know, it's a really cool thing, and I think this year I'm not doing the National Homebrewers Competition, but I think I'll have enough courage to do the Austin Homebrew Competition that's in November. But if you are competing, write us an email you can just go to homebrewhappyhour.com on the submit a question form and let us know what you're submitting. That way I know what we're up against. But let's move on. I have 2 questions for today's show. The first one comes from Raymond, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Raymond writes, Josh talks about being on Reddit a lot, and one of the best subreddits online has to be Unpopular Opinions. Do you fellas have any unpopular opinions towards homebrewing or beer? Love the show, Ray. Raymond is referring to, I have to explain this to the technologically disadvantaged Todd Burns. Todd, Reddit is a community on the internet where people...
Well, I mean, I know what Reddit is, but what does unpopular views mean?
Unpopular opinion. So unpopular opinion is on Reddit, it's a community where people just write a textual thing that is considered to maybe be less than mainstream. Honestly, most of the time it ends up being something either funny or very mainstream that's just a little edgy. Like
IPAs suck.
There you go. So in beer, I'm pulling up my phone too because I didn't pull it up on here. We got a lot of feedback. It was shared across other pages as well. And I'm nosy, so I was going to all of their pages to see all the comments and feedback. But I saw, like I mentioned at the top of the show, people on the Instagram post that we made on our own page were writing things like, let's see where James comment, like people saying there shouldn't be lactose in hazy IPAs. That got applause from James.
Yeah.
Higher gravity doesn't make better beer or doesn't make beer better. That got him. Oh, hazy milk-shaped juicy IPAs are a fad and I don't like them. That also got a thumbs up and 3 clapping emojis from James. But before we go into all of these other ones and maybe delve into some of them and why we feel the way we feel about them, off the top of your head, can you think of something you feel about homebrewing or craft beer that you maybe wouldn't outside of this episode talk about? Like for me, I'll say this. It's not a surprise to people who listen to this for a long time. I would rather drink InBev, Budweiser, keg, bottle, can, whatever, than over 99% of the sour beers I've ever had in my life. And I've had a lot. That is my probably most Austin hipster, unpopular opinion I could come up with. I would rather crack open a Budweiser than drink a sour beer. It's y'all's turn.
Well, I would rather have a Natty Light than a and then
you had to one up me, man.
Double IPA or what do they call that? Todd, you know the name of it. It's where they have 3 times the amount of hops a normal IPA has. A DEPA?
Yes.
Yeah. I'd rather have a Natty Light than a DEPA.
Okay, Todd, one up that.
I don't know. I mean, I like all styles of beer. I like to try all styles. Like I don't necessarily drink a lot of sours, and so I guess I could see your opinion, but I don't know. I don't know have you ever heard me give an unpopular opinion about homebrewing?
No, and I've also never seen you meet a beer that you weren't willing to try. I've tried to be as open-minded as you, but I just can't do it, man. I when we're on the road and people are hosting us is when I'm at my most open-mindedness. Joe and I, and sometimes it works out. So when Joe and I went with our friends and listeners of the show, Miranda and Andrew, to Great Notion, I think is what it was called, there in Portland, they're like known for those weird fruity sours, and we had a blueberry muffin sour, or it might have just been called blueberry. It was not. I didn't feel like I wanted to throw up drinking it. I enjoyed it enough. I'm using the wrong word there. I drank it and didn't complain, so there's that. And I shouldn't have said Budweiser, because here's an unpopular opinion. And we're going to lose thousands of listeners after I say this, because InBev's the devil, blah, 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 blah. Budweiser, like I don't judge people actually anymore what they drink. Honestly, like if you like it, drink it. I have actually a lot of respect for big beer, not just Bud, but for the consistency that they are able to do in the volumes that they do. I actually have a lot of respect for them. Like I can go to Austin, Texas, or to Prague, Czech Republic, and get a Coors or whatever American imported beer, and it's going to taste the exact same regardless of where I'm at across the world. I think that's pretty difficult to do.
It's extremely difficult to do. They're consistently. I've never had a Coors that didn't taste like a Coors, or a Bud that didn't taste like a Bud. You got to respect it.
Exactly. Now, do I prefer it? Of course not. Over sours, that we'll talk. But I don't. But yeah, going back to like Todd's point.
So what's the point of what you're saying? I don't understand.
What do you mean?
Do you think it's unpopular to say that? Or
what? I think it's unpopular to not just hate Budweiser. I guess that's the gist of that last. That's the gist of my last opinion. Because like I love a good hate bandwagon, like on the internet. Get the torch and pitchfork and let's go get AB InBev. As a company, maybe they're not that great, right? But I think the beers they produce are not. I don't know. I don't think I could do it. Me and my dad are going to try, like I said on the last episode, with the Kolsch to consistently create the same good tasting Kolsch batch after batch after batch. That'll be a huge accomplishment to me. And breweries of all levels, I could say this about, that are able to do that. That is what blows my mind. But yeah, my unpopular opinion was that maybe those macro breweries should get a little more respect than they do. Shoot me.
Oh, as Charlie Brown would say, "Oh, brother."
Yeah.
Oh, brother, Lucy.
I was going around and around. But yeah, you have to go to, because Todd, you do Facebook, and James, you do Instagram. So that'll kill. Right. Y'all have to go to that post. I know James saw the Instagram one. Todd, you should definitely go to the Homebrew Happy Hour page and look at that post, because some of the comments, or Keg Connection shared it and Homebrew Supply shared it. Some of the replies are right up y'all's alley. They just people where I'm thinking maybe these were never unpopular opinions, because people are like, oh, hazy IPAs have been done way too much, or oh, people are hiding bad beer with hop profiles. And I was like, I joked with one person. I said, I had to go make sure you're a real person and not a throwaway account that James created 5 minutes ago.
No, I promise I'm not on Facebook. So.
Yeah, I know you're not. That's why it was someone who, it was on the Homebrew Happy Hour page. It was someone who obviously I think listens to the show because they got a kick out of it. Fortunately, otherwise I could have just looked like a weirdo. They're like, who the hell is James? Why are you talking to? Because a lot of people I believe that shared it probably don't listen to the show at all from like the other pages that had shared it. But it is still funny to me seeing people validate our opinions. I like that. It made me feel good. And I also wanted to forward it to Joe just to kind of, just jab at him a little bit. Because that is definitely, my age group. I think I'm supposed to fall in line with going to a bar and getting the hazy IPA. I think I play the part well. Look at my shirt, my beard, backwards cap. I think I am the audience they're going for. But anyway, I'm digressing a bunch. I thought that'd be a fun question to take. Let's move on to the real question of the show. Came from Brian using the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Brian writes, hey guys, love the podcast, very informative, and I would easily say this is the best homebrew podcast out there. Side note, if y'all want to get your question read on the show, compliments like these definitely help. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I am a home brewer from Wisconsin, and I am planning on building a Keezer where I am running my 4 beer lines through the top of the lid of the freezer that will continue up to in a wooden housing where my 4 taps will be connected to. Since I am running a shank through a wooden enclosure, is shank length that important? I've read that it is beneficial to have longer shanks when it is inside of the fridge. Are there any advantages or disadvantages since the end of the shank is not actually in the Keezer? Or are there also disadvantages to making a Keezer in this style? Side question, do you guys have a favorite craft beer or brewery from Wisconsin? Thanks and cheers. Let's answer this last part first, because another unpopular opinion, I love Schlitz, guys. I love Schlitz.
I haven't had one in so long, I couldn't even tell you what it tastes like.
I'm kidding. I've never had a Schlitz because they were not a thing, I don't believe, when I started drinking. But I actually found out maybe 4 or 5 years ago, being in the San Antonio area, that they got bought by Pabst, and now their headquarters out of San Antonio. Small world.
And supposedly they may they're supposed to have brought back their original formula, so maybe it's better now. I haven't tried one, but maybe it's better. It got really, really bad at the end.
But at one time, it was one of the biggest selling beers in North America.
I didn't know Pabst was out of San Antonio. I thought they moved all that when they bought. I know Lone Star was, originally, but I didn't know. I didn't know that. Whatever that it's what is the name of that company that owns all the different old breweries? It's
I don't know.
Is it Pabst? No, it's PBR, isn't it?
Well, that's Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Yeah, Pabst Blue Ribbon, but I don't remember the corporate name. But yeah, they bought all those old breweries. I think we talked about it before.
We have, and I could be wrong about maybe Pabst isn't brewing in San Antonio, but I know they at least either their headquarters or they have a big office there, only because they're like 10 or 15 minutes away from our friends at Taprite. And it was Michael Ferguson, who was their former marketing head, who had told me that Pabst was in that area. We had this whole conversation on it. And I was like, because I think I was admitting to him, again, I am an admitted upper precipice millennial, but I dressed the part of as a hipster very frequently. And I've never had a PBR. And apparently
it's based in Los Angeles, California.
Well, what is the one in San Antonio then? There's a Pabst, or unless he was wrong, Pabst San Antonio. This is the wonders of the internet. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. No, Pabst is right there. It's off of 281. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, it says Pabst Brewing Company when I just did a Google search. We should have bet $5.
I still think you're wrong, but
okay. I'm going to keep talking. You do your own Google search. James, do you have? Again, let's answer the second part of this question. My serious answer: the only brewery that's ever been told to me it's a guy I train with. He's from Wisconsin, and he was telling me that Ale Asylum, which I believe is in Madison or the Madison area, that's the only one I've ever had recommended to me. But I hear I've heard from others as well that Ale Asylum is like top notch. I don't know if I've never been to Wisconsin, so.
Never have. I've had PBR, and honestly, I think it's a good beer.
We are losing listeners again.
I really do. I mean, I think for the money you're spending and all that, it's not bad.
It wins every year at the
Great American
Beer Festival. I mean, I'm probably exaggerating, but I think it wins. Like for the American style lager, it's won a bunch of times. I know it won the year that the last time I was there.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll bring us. Maybe I need to try it next time I'm up there. Todd, can you get me some PBR for your beer fridge, and so I can have my first PBR?
Sure. I mean, why don't you bring it?
You could probably find it better in your area than we can here.
Probably.
You used to could get it at Allsup's, but they quit handling it. So
it wouldn't be my first totally choice. Left the question we were on, didn't we?
Oh no! Well, we're getting there. So
anyway, I'm going to answer your question. Pabst Blue Ribbon is located in Los Angeles, California. They have a consumer affairs department in San Antonio.
Okay. Well, that I don't remember Michael saying whether they were brewing in San Antonio or not. I believe he used the word they're headquartered in San Antonio. But
yeah.
Maybe their
website says Pabst headquarters, and it's in Los Angeles.
Interesting. Well,
yeah, I did not know that.
So
I was going to bet you $5, but the idea of taking another $5 from you.
If we were to have bet, it would have been just the push because I wasn't.
No, because we were betting on headquarters, weren't we?
I don't remember the specifics there, my friend.
Or brewing, because you would have been wrong.
So let's get to Brian. Let's get to Brian's question about this Keezer, guys. Anything that might make me look stupid, I'll edit out. And actually, I shouldn't say that because I don't really edit stuff out, and then people are gonna go, "Man, he left a lot in that still makes him look stupid."
Imagine the things we actually said.
Yeah,
everybody out there that he edited
it's
out.
It's not edited, guys.
Yeah, it really isn't because I'm lazy. But Todd, I included this because it has been so long since we've had a Q&A show with you on it, and this is right up your alley.
You're going to have to read exactly how he's going through again because...
Sure.
One more time, please.
Absolutely. So he's
just the part about how it goes through.
All right. So his 4 beer lines are going through the top of the lid of the freezer that will continue up into wooden housing where the taps will be connected. And then he says, since I'm running a shank through a wooden...
So it's like a beer tower.
Well, no.
A wooden beer tower?
Or wooden enclosure. So look, let me just read Let me just read it again. I am a homebrewer from Wisconsin. I'm planning on building a Keezer where I'm running my 4 beer lines through the top of the lid of the freezer that will continue up into wooden housing where my 4 taps will be connected to. I'm running a shank through a wooden enclosure, so is shank length that important? So yeah, I would say he's going up into a mounted wooden enclosure that he's drilling into, as opposed to like doing a collar wooden thing that a lot of people will do and drill into.
I mean, the reason you do a collar is because one, you need the height to be able to put the kegs in there.
Right.
So it makes a lot of sense to have that. I mean, you really kind of need that height unless he has a really tall original freezer. I guess my question would ultimately be why? Why go into when you've got a perfect solution to go through a wooden collar and you're right there and you're keeping everything cold? I mean, if you're going to go into a big wooden structure, it's hard enough to keep a small metal tower insulated enough and cool enough so your beer doesn't foam. If you go into a wooden structure, I mean, you're going to have to insulate the heck out of it, insulate the lines, make sure that, or you're going to have to bring cold air into it after you've insulated. I mean, I guess it does not matter how long the shanks are at all if it's going to be in a warm environment anyway.
In fact, I'd say the longer the shank, the more problem he'll have with foaming because it's just going to be one big, huge heat sink for the beer.
Yeah, it probably won't matter either way. I mean, it just, I guess I would have to almost kind of see what he's trying to do because I don't understand the purpose of it.
So what we need, Brian, is email. I agree with you. There are factors, right? Let's talk about, maybe let's make some assumptions and answer the advantages and disadvantages part. So like what you were just saying, James, a disadvantage of using a longer shank would be complications due to the heat generated on the shank while the line's running through.
Well, if the shank is in an atmosphere where it's not cooled, like y'all were talking about, if he's building a tower mounting pedestal on top of that Keezer to hold the faucets, then yeah, it would. But I would tell him, don't do that. I would say put a collar. That way you keep the shanks cold, and the thermal conductivity helps keep that faucet cold. And then you know any kind of temperature change can cause foam, because the CO2 is going to want to leave the liquid, which is going to cause it to foam.
So yeah. I'm assuming then his design choices have got to be aesthetic, right? Like Todd, we've seen a lot of very interesting builds that maybe complicated their draft process, but for the sake of aesthetics. I can respect that as a fancy man who appreciates.
Well, maybe we should answer it this way. This is how I would answer it. Maybe he's insulating it, he's forcing air into it, and it just becomes a part of that Keezer cooling system. And in that case, if he's keeping the temperature cold in that wooden tower, then yes, the longer shanks would help him, because anytime that your shank is in the same cold environment as the rest of your beer system, then it's going to take that cold and run it on out through the end of the shank. So the longer you have, the more you have on the inside where it's cold, the better it's going to keep the outside where it's not colder. So yeah, if it's the same temperature, yes. But as James mentioned, if it's going to be a warm environment where the shank is, then the longer the shank is, I don't know how much difference it would make between that and the line, but either the longer, hotter shank is probably going to have more of effect than the real thin, hotter line will. So yeah, I would say there's absolutely no advantage to having a longer shank unless the temperature is low.
Okay, and that makes sense, and that's I brought the question because I know in the last almost 11 years I've known you, I've seen, not really helped a whole lot, but I've seen you make a ton of kegerators, Keezers specifically. A lot of them tower, where I was able to hand you the tools that you needed. So it was a very nice experience for me. But like the one that right now is in your barn.
I don't think I've ever made a tower one.
No, I'm talking about assembly. Yes, you have. We've assembled the ones that come in.
That's a kegerator though. That's not a Keezer.
Pardon me.
Keezer's a freezer that's been converted over. So
right. Sorry.
And I would never put a tower on a Keezer. I just personally would. Now you can, but I never have.
Oh, let's talk about that then. Why wouldn't you?
Because the advantage of a kegerator is they do look nice. They're nice. They're a lot of them have forced air. You've got there's obvious advantages to a kegerator. What we call a kegerator. The advantage of a Keezer is that the very fact that you do put that collar around it, you do have the shanks coming straight out, and so everything's being completely cooled until it comes out of the hole. That's the advantage of a Keezer, and you lose that advantage in my opinion, if you put a tower on it, unless you force a lot of air into that tower.
True.
Interesting. So obviously, again, we're not arguing semantics because I think there is a very clear distinction between kegerator and Keezer. James, I don't recall in your setup, that's still considered a short draw, right? Because even though it's between a wall,
it is.
But yeah. that is a Keezer on one end, but drilled through on the walls on the other end, right?
Yeah, and it's still a work in progress. I've got to recirculate. What I plan on doing is I'm going to build a reservoir in the freezer section with a small pump, and then I'm going to run glycol through the lines, and then C.M. Becker makes a adapter that slides on the shank that actually radiates the temperature of the glycol, and it cools the shanks down. Haven't got to it yet, but the problem with my system is, just like I said before, I've got a huge heat sink on the end of that wall. So if I'm drinking one beer, I get a whole glass of beer. Until the beer cools the shank, it's nothing but foam.
And that's what I was asking you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wasting a lot of beer until it cools down, and then I can draft normally. So
See, what he really needs is a walk-in cooler on the other side of the
I
wall.
do they call it a shadow box insert that goes in the wall. So
Yeah.
the thing is, I haven't thrown that idea out the window either.
Or we did you know what? When we did the partnership,
Do that CoolBot
when we
thing.
did that giveaway with CoolBot, I should have just drawn your name.
There you go. I've got the space. I've actually thought about putting a wall in and mounting a little something in there.
Oh,
But
yeah, I like it. That sounds like a gearhead solution
Yeah.
if I've ever heard one.
So here's
And
what-
maybe that's why I haven't done the other thing. I'm like, I could just save up my money and I'd have the only guy in Comanche County, other than Todd, to have a walk-in fridge.
That would be the best solution. I will get with our contacts at CoolBot, and we'll do another contest, and James, you'll win. I mean, that's just the only way to do this.
I like what you guys think.
Kidding aside, Brian, thanks for submitting the question. Our listeners, especially the ones whose questions we take on the show, are so good about following up. So I'm very confident I'll have some follow-up information on his question because, like Todd said, assuming the best, Todd said why he would do it the way he did. We're wrapping it up. Todd, you would still say the collar method is the most effective method for creating a Keezer?
Yeah, I mean it's easy, it's cheap. It's a great way to do it. Of course, it helps to insulate the inside of the collar as well. You can just use foam board or there's a lot of different ways to insulate, but you don't even have to do that as long as you've got a chest freezer that'll keep up with it. And keep it cold.
And assuming he might do that, what is your recommendation on shank length? Should he overkill it or just do the minimum that he has to get through the collar?
A longer shank is always better, I say.
Yep.
So, yeah.
You sound like my wife. Anyway, that's not appropriate.
No, I mean, I think, it depends on the usable space that he needs to get through the collar. So, if he uses a 2x6 and then he uses a framing and then he uses some foam board, then maybe he's got 3 inches there. So once you've got to have 3 inches just to clear, and then you want several inches on the inside. So then maybe you do a 6-inch shank in that case. If it's not that thick, maybe you do a 5-inch shank, or a 4-inch shank. Just depends on, what you have to clear.
Absolutely. With that, guys, that is, believe it or not, we've been talking for a long time. I thought this episode, I was like, it might be one of the shorter ones, but it's okay. Todd's busy. This is actually a really good timed show. I appreciate you guys taking the time and doing today's episode with me.
Sure.
Oh, I enjoyed it. Always do.
Thank you, everybody. And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, visit homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the Submit a Question link at the top of the page. Or now you can call them in by dialing 325-305-6107 and leave your message after the beep. Thank you to our show sponsor, catconnection.com, for supporting our podcast and the homebrewing community. Go to catconnection.com, use the promo code HHH, and you'll receive 5% off your order. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.